writing in the background. Right, Kid, I'm going to go right into it because you've got such amazing things that I want to learn from you.
Okay.
So I was watching one of your reels and you're talking about, and I think we discussed this. Maybe we didn't. I'm not sure because we discussed a lot of things. I would love for you to tell us about the difference between caliber and quality. I love that. Could you just explain the differences and why you even came up with it and how that helps?
Yeah, 100%. So it's interesting because we hear a lot of people, and especially women I work with, saying about having standards for men, etc., having these kind of standards, but yet they still don't seem to be getting the relationships and commitment that they want. And then on the other side of the aisle, you have men saying, oh, you know, your standards are too high and they're too unrealistic, etc., etc. That's why you're not getting the right treatment. And the reason I came up with the caliber versus quality is because I think we really have to differentiate between the standard of someone as in the market in regards to very objectively, and then the subjective quality of value that they provide to our lives. So the caliber of a man would be his position, his status, his financial capabilities, his confidence, his intelligence. But the quality of a man, it refers to his intention with you, refers to how he shows up for you, refers to his level of emotional investment in you. Does he make you feel emotionally secure and safe for you to blossom as the woman that you want to be within a relationship? And so you can have men who are very high caliber, these very successful, tall, attractive, you know, six-pack, six figures, you know, they live the abundance lifestyle, but they can be very low quality because they don't treat the woman they're with the level of respect that she deserves, or they don't give her the level of investment that she's looking for and aren't as considerate. Equally, you can have a man who's maybe, you know, medium to low caliber. So he has a very standard job, you know, works a standard 9 to 5, which is perfectly fine. But he might be a very high quality guy. So he might be very integral, have very strong principles, has very strong sense of loyalty to his friendships, to his woman, to his family. And so one thing I think it's funny because you have one side of the aisle, men saying that women have raised their standards unrealistically. And then on the other side, you have women who aren't being treated that great by men saying that, why are we accepting these low standards? And so this is why I came up with, they're both talking about the same they're both talking about standards, but in different ways. And that's what the caliber versus quality is. And so men are saying the caliber of what women want today has gone so high, but women are saying the standards of what they're accepting so low. And it is very true. I think the wave is women's standards for the caliber of men has come up here, but when they meet that men, the standard for the quality has gone down here because maybe it's so hard to find this caliber. So that's what I would say.
I love that. I can talk about that for days. I love it because I tell you what, when I started in this business officially, because I've been doing it all my life as far as I'm concerned, like most people, I probably, like yourself, I just wasn't getting paid for it. But when I started, probably about 10 years ago, when I heard the term high value man, it was actually in reference to what you would describe as high quality man. That was all.
Yes.
The caliber bit, where a high value man became high caliber, which is what's understood, I think, on the internet these days, that the high caliber man is the high value man. And so I think we have a kind of thing going on the internet right now with old schoolers like myself, really referring to that quality guy, the guy who treats you well, you know. And, you know, I realized when I heard you say that, I thought, we really are talking across purposes, but I love how you kind of almost bring the conversation to simple things. Now tell me something. Are women asking too much, as far as you're concerned in general, when it comes to wanting both the caliber and the quality? Is that asking too much? You're free to say whatever you like.
Oh, yeah. I'll always be honest. You know me. I'll always be honest and direct. It is only asking... It's not asking too much if you are bringing what those men want. It's one thing to say, I want to be the prime minister. But if you're not out there hanging out flyers, if you're not knocking on doors, if you're not making those politician connections to put you in that position, if you're not putting in the work to be the desired candidate that the country wants for a prime minister, then you're asking too much for the level of your output currently.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so I do think there is an aspect of, there is some unrealistic expectation with a lot of women today, because some women still ask for the traditional benefits that men have traditionally historically given, but women have elevated themselves today.
Right.
So on one hand, we obviously have equality, which we absolutely should. And it's the first time in history that women are actually out earning their male counterparts, women under the age of 30.
True.
So women are starting to outpace men in terms of earning potential, but they still want the man to pay. They still want the man to provide.
Yes.
They still want the man to take on the majority of the financial burden,
Yes.
especially if she's looking to
Yes.
have a long-term relationship.
Yes.
And so there's this interesting dichotomy of women elevating themselves, but then still wanting to look for a man who supersedes them in those metrics.
Right.
And so it's just asking the question, a lot more women have started to take the positions of being the breadwinner, in terms of being in a position where they have wealth and influence, but they don't want to take the responsibility that comes with that. They still want the man to take the responsibility. And so that's why it can be very difficult for women who are very successful to find a man who not only she sees as eligible for herself, but then wants to commit to her. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So what would you advise a successful woman? We kind of had this on your channel, but
yes.
You know, I'm going to give you a scenario, perhaps. I'm a doctor and I earn well. I am 29. What I desire is I became a doctor because I was really good at it. I was good at school. The sciences were my thing. Mm-hmm. I had the aptitude. Didn't know what else I wanted to be, but medicine seemed good. And guess what? I went to medical school, graduated, became a doctor. I don't identify as a doctor.
Yes.
It's what I do. My heart's desire is to be a mom. I want to have kids. Okay. I want to have maybe 3 or 4, and I want to be able to stay home and be taken care of by the man that I'm with. I'm still a doctor, I still out earn him, but this is the situation. That's quite a traditional desire, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Perhaps I'm dating men who maybe he's a physiotherapist, but he doesn't earn as much as I do. His attitude is, look, you earn more, you do more. My fear is, but what about when I have babies?
Very good point.
Right? If you can't, I don't want to be the woman who has to leave my baby at home at 6 weeks or 6 months.
Yes.
To go and slog and never see my baby. I want to stay home with my baby. So where do we go from here?
100%.
Do you think?
100%.
Kid?
For a woman in that scenario, I would say that if you're looking at a man to potentially provide for you, where you're willing to step back from work, look at his lifestyle and ask yourself, can I be okay with that lifestyle? Because a lot of the time, if you earn more, you likely live a slightly higher level of luxurious lifestyle that he does. That doesn't mean his lifestyle is necessarily bad. Right. It just may be at your standard. But if you want to take that position where you're going to step away from work and you want a guy to take care of the frame of the relationship, then you have to ask yourself, will I be satisfied? Can I accept the lifestyle that he can provide? If the answer is no, then I would say a woman in that position who's 29 and she's looking to take a step back from work to have a family, I would suggest looking much older.
Yeah.
Because men who are much older, men who are in their mid to late 30s, even early 40s, you're a young fine thing to them, right? So you're going to be able to attract them. They're more likely to be further on in their career. They're more, especially if they're older, they're probably a little bit more traditional than guys of your similar age and generation. So they're probably more happy and even expect to take that position, that traditional position. Right. But then if you're going to attract that kind of man, you then need to start putting in the work. So what does that kind of man look for? Working on mind, working on body and fitness, working on presentation, working on bringing that level of femininity. Because if you're asking for a traditional man is quite masculine. So you need to be bringing that feminine because that's what's going to attract him.
Absolutely.
And if you know that's what you want, and if you're a doctor, which can be quite a demanding job in terms of hours, maybe you start peeling back those hours so you can start investing in areas of yourself to attract that man. So areas in yourself, reconnecting with yourself, maybe going to someone like Chengi, where you could step more into your femininity. Maybe you get a personal trainer. So you work to get into the best shape of your life so that you can, which doesn't only work your body, but also works your mind. You start to have a slightly different shift of mindset in regards to that. And because you're doing this work, you'll naturally start to attract that kind of man. Right. So that's what I would say to that.
I love that. I agree. I think it's to do with what you're prepared to compromise. And I'm really curious, however, and this is going to be easy for you to answer. I'm a 35-year-old man dating this woman. Okay.
That you're a 35-year-old man dating this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So 35-year-old man.
Yep.
Dating the woman I've just described.
Yes.
And I'm in love with her. But we have this sticking point. I don't want to lose her, but we have this sticking point because I feel like you earn more, you should do more. Right. And we've had the conversations, I know exactly what you want, but I'm not kind of ready to let this go. Now, the woman has to decide, okay, I'm prepared to live the lifestyle that you already live right now, which I absolutely agree with. And I tell my clients that all the time. If you want a man who earns less and you want him to be a provider, you got to be okay with his apartment. Okay.
That's it.
That's what's up, right?
That's
You've got to be
it.
okay with his car, his lifestyle, because that's what he can provide for, right? In this instance, what would you say to this man? Because he's may potentially lose this woman if he doesn't move, but he loves her. So what advice would you give to a guy in that he was your client, he came to you? What advice would you give him?
Yeah. So just to round off, 35-year-old guy dating a woman who's younger than him but earns more than him. Yes. And does he want to step into that traditional role?
He wants her.
He wants her. Okay.
And he's losing her because he's not comfortable with one piece.
Okay. So I would say to him, if you want to keep her, ask her what is it that she needs from the man in her life. And different people have different needs. And if she says, and I'm assuming you're with her because she's a beautiful human being, she's reasonable, she cares about you, so it's unlikely she's going to give you an outlandish answer. So you ask her what she needs from the man in her life that she wants to be with, and see if you do fulfill those needs or if you can. If there is a need of hers that you think you can't, ask her if she's flexible, because you express to her, look, I want to be there for you, I want to take care of you, I want to go through this journey of life with you. I understand this is a need and this is something that's a little bit out of my zone, but are you willing to work with me here? Because if you're going to have a long-term partnership, right, there's going to be compromise and work on both ends. Depending on what that need is, I believe if she really loves you and think there's potential, she'll be flexible. Now, if she's adamant, like, no, this is a need, etc., if you can't do this, then, that's this, then I would say, okay, then that's just not the woman for you, because you can't choose someone who doesn't want to choose you. It's all good you saying, I want to be there for you, but unless the person is reciprocating that, that's not a dynamic that you can survive in. That's not a dynamic that's even healthy for you.
Absolutely.
I
think there's definitely an incompatibility there in that setup and I think this is quite hard because when emotions get involved, it then becomes blurry, but it's not actually blurry. It's really about incompatibility and I think people feel like if we have like 80% in common and we have this 20% that's missing, surely we can make it work. And what people don't really understand is what is the 20%? It's
what that 20% is.
What is that, right?
Yeah.
So if she wants 4 kids to live in a mansion, and that's just the 20%, the rest of the time she adores you, she's feminine, she's sweet, she makes you feel like amazing. But this is one piece, and that one piece you feel you can't do, or you can't do right away. That's a big piece.
Yeah, that's a big piece.
Because in marriage, relationships, that 20% becomes the 80.
Very,
sadly.
Very true. Yeah, it's true.
Right?
It's true.
So it's so just to kind of finish off this particular topic.
Yes.
What do you suggest? Should women choose one or the other, high caliber or high quality? Or what is the reasonable, in your estimation, what is the reasonable position for a woman to take? What should we really be looking for? What should the average woman who's looking for love be looking for? Should they be looking for that high quality guy and that's enough? Or is it okay to be like, I'm all about that caliber? What would you recommend to the average client, woman?
I would say if you had to choose one, so long as he's not a man who's living on the street, obviously, and he has a job.
Yeah.
Right? So he takes care of himself. He's just not on a high level. If you're looking for a life partner, I would say high quality every time. If you can get high quality with caliber, you struck gold, girl. Hold on to him, right? Because I hear all the time about how it's slim pickings out here for women, right? But because we always acclimatize to our environment. Remember the first time you bought a new car? You're like, I'll drive everywhere in this new car.
Yeah.
I'll just go, you need some bread? Let me go get some bread just so I can drive my new whip. After a year, it's not that you don't love your car anymore, but you're used to it.
That's right.
So the whole thing of this caliber of this lifestyle, you will adapt and acclimatize to the lifestyle. Once you've acclimatized and you're not, all shiny-eyed by the novelty of it, you're left with the quality of the person. And that is what defines whether the relationship is going to work. And let's just be real. hard times can come. Someone can be on top today and then down below later. But the quality of that person is the one thing that will be consistent. And if you're real serious about a life partner, you should spend more time prioritizing the quality of the man over the caliber. I'm not saying we can't desire caliber. There's quality and caliber with women as well, right? You have women who are very high caliber in terms of attractiveness, etc., and desirability, but she's not a great person.
Right.
So if you're looking for a life partner, I would say prioritize high quality. But if you're young and just looking to have fun, hey, listen, you indulge in all the high caliber you want, my girl.
Just understand what's what. I agree.
Yeah.
And I agree 100%. I really truly believe that quality can create caliber. You know,
Amen.
I feel like if you got a great guy who has values, morals, integrity, is hardworking, he knows who he is, and you come together, you can be a force to be reckoned with.
100%.
Absolutely.
The example we talked about when you were on my show was Martin Luther King and his wife. Now, technically, on paper, she was actually earning more than him because she was working in the market. But he was on a very high purpose, very high mission.
Yes.
No one would dare say he's not a high quality man, even though in the eyes of society on paper, he would actually have been considered a low caliber man. And she would have followed him to the ends of the earth. I mean, she did.
Amen. So I'm for it. I'm about that. I actually believe that is the Black Swan life. I actually believe that it takes a certain quality of woman to be able to even think that way in the first place.
Yes.